Hello, everybody. Uh, I we were just having a very interesting, very quick conversation. So, for those of you tuning in for the very first time, I'm Yorona Boster, a certified speaker and communications coach, life coach, international speaker, author, podcaster, all around. And I help people communicate with purpose, integrity, and respect with themselves and all those around them. Before I introduce my incredible guest for today, I have a request for anybody listening or watching. As this series continues, I would like your input for communication topics that interest you. So, the way I see it, communication runs really deep. So, I don't want you to be afraid to stretch the limits of where and how communication shapes your life. Please feel free to DM me any ideas that you might have, drop them in the comments, or even email them to me at yorona@yoronaboster.com. All right, now on to our incredible guest. Today's guest is someone who's mastered the art of presence on not screen, on screen, in the boardroom and in life. You may know Joe Sabatino from his roles on Night Court, NYPD Blue, and the Golden Globe nominated series Necessary Roughness. But what truly sets Joe apart isn't just his Hollywood resume, it's his ability to help others step into their own spotlight. As the CEO of AI Solutions and the creator of Cinema Secrets, Joe teaches leaders how to communicate with clarity, conviction, and heart. His journey is a testament to the power of storytelling, not just to entertain, but to elevate. And today, Joe is here with me to have a conversation about how authentic confidence isn't about performing, it's about connecting. So, with that said, I'd like to dive into our specific prompt question to get this conversation started. And I would love for you to start the answering of how is it, Joe, that we can help leaders distinguish between authentic confidence and performative communication?
Right. That's a great question, and I'm humbled by that introduction. So thank you very much. And even before we start that, I just want to say to everyone, if you're looking for a life coach, a speaking coach, a performance coach, there is none better than Yorona. So I have to tip my hat off to you because you're fantastic. So
Thank you, Joe.
I
Thank
just
you.
I just throw that out to you. So when we talk about authentic versus performative, right? I know all the speaking coaches and performance coaches. Everybody comes from their own center, and my center has been in the performance arts for the past 30 years. And when I think about authentic, uh, it all comes back to as an actor, when people look at us and when we watch, when the audience watches us work, everyone's like, oh my gosh, you have your favorite actor and they're so dialed in or we're so dialed into what we do. Why is that? why
Mm.
why can the actor, even if, think about this is really cool. We talk about authentic versus performative, but why is it that the actor can create a character that we as the audience goes, you're so captivated by it. You're just so
Mm.
captivated by it. So the question then becomes, is that authentic or is
Right.
that performative? So
Hmm.
let's look at that, okay? And
Yeah.
I really want to dive into this with you because so that actor captivates the audience.
Hmm.
And whether it's Denzel Washington or Robert De Niro or Sylvester Stallone or your favorite actor, it does not matter. But you get lost in that performance,
Yeah.
and you get so caught up in it. So everyone is, when I hear every speaker under the sun, performance coach, public speaker, be authentic. You must be
Right.
authentic. You have to be authentic, right? Go ahead. You want to say something?
Well, as you said that, I was thinking, but what does authenticity mean? What in this day and age we hear that word used all the time. What is authenticity?
Exactly. So we have to define that. Go.
So let's define it. Okay. For me, and
Mm,
this is just something that I've been thinking a lot about lately.
sure.
Authenticity is when you're really truly rooted in your self-awareness and your emotional alignment. Look, we have emotions up the wazoo. That's
Mhm.
that's never going to never going to not be a part of who we are as humans. It's a
100%.
part of that reptilian brain. But the honest expression of those emotions, when we're in alignment with who we are, when we understand what it really feels like to be angry, when we understand what the depths of
Mhm.
anger, I mean, the depths of despair, the depths of grief, the depths of joy, radiant, happy, positive joy. What does the depth of that mean to you? And when we're self-aware enough to have that be how it expresses itself for us as an individual. I think that's what authenticity is, because
Mhm.
how I express joy might look different from how somebody else expresses joy. It doesn't mean it's not authentic. It simply means that I am completely self-aware that this is the way I express my joy and I'm good with it.
Right, exactly. So you have that emotional intelligence. So I always harken back to when I'm coaching executives, and we always talk about authenticity and whatnot. But I think, just as the actor, you have to get grounded in really having that emotional intelligence to understand who you are. Now, we we spoke a couple of days ago, and I said something to you, and I said, "Well, I'm really shy." And you laughed, and you're
So
laughing now.
I'm
And
laughing now.
I'm going to be very authentic right now. My wife knows this. I am very shy. But
Mm,
what I do know is, and I've grown up and I've always been a loner.
mm,
And what my wife knows and sees in me, she goes, "You crack me up." And I said, "Why do I crack you up?" She goes, "Because I know you're a very private person, yet you're an actor, you're a television producer, you have your own business, and I see when you go on, bang, you just turn it on.
mm,
So my nature, my authentic self is really shy. If I'm in a room and I'm not on,
right.
I'm the guy, I kid you not, throughout college, wherever, I'll sit in the back of the room. And I'll just sit in the back of the room, and I'm more, and I think actors are more of observers. I'm
Mm,
an observer of people. I'm an observer of the human condition. So if if I were to play someone with your personality, I know exactly how I would play it. Okay? Because I'm constantly, that's what we do. We observe people. So that said,
okay.
stay with me. So that
Hmm.
said, authenticity and performative. I'm kind of going to go a little different on you with you here, but this is what makes coaches. This is what makes people, because not everybody comes from the same, uh, you know, origin point. So I define that authentic behavior is, number one, just like the actor, who are you? And when I say who are
Mm,
you, I'm going to put it all on me now. So if I go, okay, I'm a shy guy.
mm,
I don't like to. Truthfully, I don't like to ask anyone for anything. It's very hard for me to ask people for a favor. It's very
mm,
hard for me to ask anyone for anything. So, so, and being shy, as crazy as what I'm going to say is, these are just behaviors that over the years I've kind of, I practiced those behaviors of being shy because I just was never that outgoing person. But what I did learn, I did a show one time in high school. I was asked to do this show and I did, and I was like, wow, that was kind of cool. And as a former athlete, I I I like performing, but
Mm.
a lot of performers are always on. I'm not that guy.
Right.
I go to the gym, work out. I don't talk to anybody, keep my head down, have my baseball hat on. So I think now, long way around to come to what authenticity versus performative. Authenticity is understanding who you are.
Hmm.
And then now in your mind's eye going, okay, who do I want to be? So, like, I'm a CEO of a company. What do I want the audience to see? So now I connect that with my acting background and I go, well, what's that character? Well, I've got to be passionate, I've got to be excited, I've got to be, outgoing. I've got
Right.
to I've got to embody these behaviors that I feel is that brand. Okay?
Mm.
So to me, authenticity and performance and performative skills, they kind of go together because it
Mm.
because it
Okay.
but here's the thing. And to be truly authentic as an actor, we call it playing your truth, right?
Mm. Okay.
Acting is moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. Okay. So here's the beauty of being an actor. Once you know what your truth is,
Hmm.
so now I'm going to go back and forth from entertainment to corporate, entertainment to corporate. So once I know as an actor what my truth is,
Hmm.
that really is what's my brand. And I have
Ah,
to be true to my brand. So
right.
now here's the beauty of it. So now if I'm true to my brand, that whenever I'm speaking, if I intellectually know my brand, it doesn't matter what comes out of here because whatever comes out of here, I know what my brand is in my heart of
Yeah.
hearts. So
Yeah.
just as the actor, if I'm doing a show and then the director says, "Hey, you know what? I loved what you guys did. I want you to just kind of improv it. Let's see how it flows." And a lot of time, I mean, I was doing a show with Christian Bale. And Adam McKay said, love the scene. We got it. Now just improv the scene. And
Right.
we improv the scene. And, here I am, opposite Christian Bale, going, okay, let's see how this goes. But we did it. And Adam McKay said, you know what? I love it. I'm going to take a little bit from the improv, a little bit from what we did, put it together. It's going to rock. And it did.
Oh,
So, so, I didn't mean to throw the
no,
curve.
no, I like it. Because I think that what you're really trying to say is that there's a misunderstanding of what you mean by what we mean when we talk about performative. I think there's a shallow depth to an understanding of what it can be versus what people have conceptualized it to be.
I don't necessarily know if it's a misunderstanding. I just think it's something where we all have our we all have our truths, we all have our understandings of certain things, and it's almost like a there's a number of different acting techniques out there that you can use
Mhm.
to embody your character, just
Right,
as when you're a corporate executive and you're getting up there and you're speaking, there's
right,
I hear, we hear from public speakers, performance coaches. There's just a number of different things to execute what you want to do. I think the beauty of it all is to open your mind
mhm,
and just truly be an open vessel to, hey, there's a number of different ways that I can execute certain things. Now, here's the trick. If you are open to a lot of these different ways, you're going to find what works for you best. And
right.
that's where you go.
That's where
So
you go. I love where you're going with it, and I will say it reminds me of something I say all the time. A couple of things. One is that we put on different roles in our lives. We
Mhm.
take on different roles all the time. We
100%.
might be a mother, a father, a daughter, a sibling. We might be a CEO. We might be a worker in a plant. We might be this, that, and the other. There's so many roles we take on. And it's not to say that we are false within those roles. It's to say that it's to say that the roles we take on require certain behavioral communication components to them in order to communicate most clearly in that role that you're taking on. If I'm in my mothering role, my communication with my son is going to look very different than in my wife role and the way I communicate with my husband. I'm not going to communicate the same way, and that's okay, because the truth is, as long as I'm still genuine in the emotional, in, as you said, the heart of hearts, right? As long as I'm still genuine and true to that, then what's going to come out is still going to be genuine to the circumstances. I just may contextually change the behavior
Right.
that I utilize. And I always try to say to people, communication is the behavior by which you show up in the world, how you express yourself.
100%. I've heard, I look at it where I just take a common sense approach to performance skills and public speaking. And I love the one thing that I always heard. I think we had this conversation, but I'm not sure because we speak to so many people. I remember is you'll know this statistic really well that what is it? What we say is only like 10% of our communication. What is that thing?
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
actually
it's
it's so it is a I did do some more research on it. It's based off of a study, a particular study that was done in the 60s. So there is a little bit misunderstanding about it, but
I was
how
talking. That was us.
yeah, it was us. We were talking about this, and then I was doing some more research because I'm always doing research. And one of the things that I understood was that it was in particular occurrence to that study that what we say is only 10% of how we communicate.
Yes, yes, yes.
And what I would now say is that it's upwards of only 10%. It could be words do matter. Words really do matter. And the way we put those words out there matters greatly. But, it can be upwards of only 10%. We can, depending on contextually how you're communicating with people, if you're communicating, writing a book or an article or something like that, then words matter a lot more. But it still means that behaviorally, there's so much more to communication than we actually give it credit for. And I cannot tell you how many times I've worked with speakers who stand up and it's like they're doing bullet points. And I'm
Well,
like, wait a second.
the reason why I say that is, can I take it out of the classroom right now and bring it into real life?
Yes, please, please.
We're going to go a little adult here, so please forgive me. But again, Joe Sabatino, common sense approach. That's all I'm saying. So I've had various jobs in my life. As an actor, we do everything, right? Uh, yeah, we do a lot of stuff. So in New York, when I was a young fella, I was a college football player. I was a martial artist. I was a boxer. So I did a lot of bodyguarding work, and I was a bouncer in a lot of New York nightclubs. And I'll never forget. I don't know if I shared this with you,
Possible.
possibly. So, and I've always been. I mean, I majored in communications in college, so I've always been fascinated with communications. Fascinated, and that's why I say I watch a lot of your stuff, and you're just such a wonderful, wonderful communicator.
Thank you.
So they called Ronald Reagan the great communicator. Yarona's the great communicator. Uh, no, so I was bouncing one night in a nightclub, and these two gentlemen get in an. I'm going to keep this as civil as possible. These two gentlemen get in an altercation. Okay, Joe, so me and another bouncer go and we break it up. Break it up. So I'm holding this one gentleman, and that's why I laugh when I hear 10% of communication is verbal. Well, maybe not in this particular instance, but I remember I was holding the gentleman and he leaned over. He put his head like he was leaning over talking to the other gentleman that he was having a slight disagreement with. And he leans over and he says in a very low, gravelly voice, he just says, I'm going to act a little here. He just says, I'm going to cripple you.
Oh my God.
Okay, so I went to myself, and as studying communication, I went, I'm thinking a little bit more than 10% is delivering this message. I don't know,
Oh,
but yeah. But I'm just saying, yeah, I'll give it
yeah.
12, 15%, maybe.
But it's in the, it wasn't because it wasn't just the
Yeah,
words, it was the way that, right? If the words are 10%, then the rest of it,
yeah,
oh, the rest of it that came out of those words was
yeah.
exactly what was intended to come across, right?
Right. So, but I just look at it. So now, and I come back. So that brings me back to my foundation as an actor. And you have to, so this gentleman who was having this disagreement, the words that he was saying, everything was grounded in truth. And
Right.
everything has to be, so I look at it this way. So what's our truth? Okay.
Right.
Our truth is what we have here and what we have here. So the key is when we connect here to here
Right.
and we have this heart mind connection, then no
Mhm.
matter what we're saying, how we're saying it, how we're delivering it, how we're gesticulating, how we're, pacing our presentation, how we're pausing, it doesn't matter because once it's connected in here and here, everything works. And that's why I say with a lot of people that I work with, for instance, from being a professional athlete, you want to keep everything so simple that
Mm,
after you've worked it, here's the difference between a professional athlete and, uh, let's say, a Sunday afternoon, player. The athlete, all professional athletes, our physical abilities are kind of the same. What separates that athlete now on a different level is there is no thought process because it's all automatic. So, how I look at it when I'm coaching executives on stage is when we're on stage, there is no more thinking because
right.
it's so automatic now. So that when we're walking up to the stage, right, just as an athlete and just as an actor. Everybody goes, wow, he's so great. How can he hit that golf ball? How can he throw that pass? Or the actor. You get an actor and you have an actor, I would say 95% of them, if they have to do an impromptu speech, they get up there and people go, oh my gosh, it's like they had it memorized. I mean, they're so relaxed. They're so this, they're so that.
Mm,
So,
mm,
but what the actor does, we don't have the luxury to, okay, with Christian, okay, I'm going to start the scene and I'm going to say, Adam, it's probably going to take me about 10 or 15 seconds to warm up. No, 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 no. You got to be warm when they say action.
right.
So it's with the athlete, and I think the athlete and the actor are trained very similar, but you're conditioned so that when you're walking up to that stage, you're, a minute, 2 minutes out, you're already in rhythm and
Right.
you know
Right.
your truth, you're connected, heart and mind. So, boom, you're already there. And so
That's
that's,
us.
yeah, that's what, so when we take our performative and our authenticity, they're kind of merged together. As crazy as
Mm.
that sounds, I know I'm kind of breaking all
No,
norms
I think I
speaking.
like what you're saying because you know what I think? I think the language that I utilized and when I was thinking about this as performative communication isn't the right way to go. It's really more the difference being one is shallow level communication.
Mm.
I think that's really what I'm talking about, the difference there,
Right.
because authenticity can be performative. It can. I mean, I know that myself. I talk about it all the time when we're talking about our behaviors and how they show out.
Right.
Sometimes what you're thinking inside, you have to actually take from the inside and put to the outside. And
Right.
in fact, oftentimes as a speaker, as a communicator, as a public
Right.
figure, you have to take what's inside and just put it on the outside. And that can be very performative. What I think the difference is, and this is what I think is so important when it comes to leadership, is the shallow measures of communication that we go through. Oh, I know it's important to say hello to all of my employees. So I'll say, hi, 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 how are you all doing? But do I really mean it?
Right.
Do I really mean it? And I
Right.
think that's the measure of that emotional, the congruency between how you deliver it. If I say, hi, 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 nobody feels it. But if I say,
Sure.
hi, how you
Yeah.
doing today? How's it going this morning? Hey, how's it going this morning? How was your night last night? There's a distinction there because one says I care and the other one says I'm checking a list.
Right. Right. Yeah. 100%. I totally agree with you. So
Yeah.
we're in agreement.
We're in agreement. And therefore, and it's like, so when we're working with leaders,
Hmm.
one of the things that I do when I'm working with some of my leadership clients is remind them that it's developing your emotional impulse control is important so that you're speaking with your employees with intention. So a lot of times, this is important. When we talk about authenticity, some people believe that means I get to splatter all my emotions all over the place.
Right.
But that's not true when you're in a leadership position
No.
because people are looking to you to lead and they don't want to see somebody who's splattering them. How could you do that with the report? You messed that up, blah, 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 right? So we can be upset about a circumstance that occurred, but the way we deliver that to our employees either sets them up for failure or it sets them up for future success. And I think that's so important when it comes to being in any given leadership role. They're not responsible for your emotional response to the circumstances. They are responsible for many things, but you are responsible to deliver what you need to deliver with that control, no matter how you're feeling.
Yes, I think there's a couple of things in play here. And when I speak of leadership, because again, I come from what I've lived. I'm more, as we're talking, I'm really not a classroom performance coach, public speaking. It's more world lived experience. And I think one of the best, just case studies when I look at leadership, because I take leadership from here and bring it into corporate, and
Mhm.
it's professional sports. Now,
Yep.
when I look at leaders on a football field, a basketball court, and when you're a lot of people haven't been in that environment, but when you're in that environment, leadership is so powerful. So much, so much so than in corporate. Because a lot of times in corporate, I deal with a lot of sales professionals. And it breaks my heart because in a lot of companies that I work with, they take the top salesperson and
Mhm.
they make him the sales leader because he's the top or she's the top salesperson. And totally different set of skills to be that top
Mhm.
salesperson and to be that sales manager. Totally different. Probably the biggest mistake corporate makes. But when we look at leadership in sports
Mhm.
and how it's disciplined, it's very disciplined, but
Yeah.
that leader makes that player know that they're valued and cared for. Okay.
Yeah.
Because once that player, I mean, I've had coaches that have been so
Mm,
hard. But I'll tell you what, that coach said, Joe, you need to run through that brick wall. You know what I would say without a shadow of a doubt, without a question? Yes, coach. Yes, coach.
mm,
Because A, they're motivators. B, I know they care about me and they care about the success of the team, and everything's tied to the success of the team. But what I see in corporate is I see a lack of that leadership
mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
And in professional sports, everyone's a no one, losing is a very big motivational factor. But we go about it differently. Whereas in corporate, losing or not getting, not closing the deal, not making the numbers, everybody's so scared that their coaching is different. It's more of you have to do this or else. You have to do this or else. You have to do this or else.
Uh,
So, okay, but let's be real. So in professional sports, you've got to make the tackle or you've got to hit the shot. And if you don't,
right.
the NFL, there's that old saying, it doesn't stand for the National Football League. It stands for not for long. So if you don't make that tackle, you won't be there for long. So we inherently know that, but everything that we're doing, we're driving, we're motivating is
Mhm.
support, empowerment, and actually looking, hey, let me hear from you. Excuse me. How can you do your job better? Boom,
Right.
how can we help you do your job better? Put that on the line. Then
Right.
also let's let the team weigh in. So there's so much input, and we look at the problem so many different ways.
Yep.
Where sometimes in corporate, if you have a poor sales leader, oh my gosh, it's that old saying: people don't leave companies; they leave managers.
Right, right, and I think this is super important because what you're talking about, and the way I see it, is that it's the difference between understanding that you're a part of something
Right.
versus believing that you're at at the top of the pyramid, and that, "Oh, they can't fall because if they fall down here, then I'll fall too," but not understanding that you're actually
Yeah.
a part of this. There's a distinction between sitting at the top and believing you have this top person mentality
Mhm.
that all of the that and I'm gonna be honest too, I used to have a long, long time ago, I had a boss who had no problem throwing any of her staff under the
Of
bus.
course.
She was all doing it all the time, and I got tired of it, and I wanted to try to do something about it. Nobody else wanted to, they just wanted to complain, and I quickly realized this was not the space for me. I
Sure.
want to I want to help people understand that they're a part of the mechanism just as much as they're leading the mechanism. They have to both be a part of this process, and I think a lot of coaches understand that. They're just as willing to get in the dirt. They're just as and when you're in a leadership role, you need to understand you have to be willing to get in the dirt just as much as you're willing to lead it, you
Yeah.
know?
And
I
I
think that's the
I'm sorry,
difference.
go ahead. Please finish.
No, I think that's a huge difference in the mentality of how you process it. You want not just what's in your best interest, but what's in the best interest of everybody who's there. Not as a cog in the wheel of your Fortune 500 company, but as a person that everybody has a buy-in
You
to
you just
have
said it. You just beat me to the punch. You're right. Everybody has to be bought in, and a lot of times, and you see it. I see it. There are some people. They're there just for the paycheck, and that's that. Que
right.
sera, sera. And then you have the other people that are really there for the right reason. And I think as that leader, their leadership, you have to make tough calls and you have to really assess your team and look at, okay, who's in it for the right reasons, who's just collecting a paycheck. And you have to, really assess your team, make some strategic decisions, and Some people might have to go, some people stay. We, empower them more, bring on other team members that are there for the right reason, and create that winning team. So, and
Agreed.
that all stems from coming full circle back to, authentic versus performative. Well, yeah, I again say you got to combine the both, because it's your job to motivate your team member so that they feel valued.
Right.
And that's where it's at.
And I'm gonna leave it at this, because I think what's so important with this is, if you're a leader, you have to ask yourself, are you just checking a box?
Of course.
Or are you truly developing skills, habits, and strategies that you wish to implement because they mean something to you?
Hmm.
And they mean something for the sake of your team, for the sake of your company, for the sake of the continuity of it all.
Hmm.
Versus, oh, I was told I have to smile at everybody. I was told I have
Right.
to spend more time, so on and so forth. If you're not actually adopting that, then my question to all leaders would be, what is something that will help you lead more authentically with the behaviors that make sense for you to adopt, so that you are leading from that space of understanding, empathy, and caring for the people who you lead?
Yeah. And I think too today we're we're in precarious times. We know we're in precarious times with the world, get that. But I
Yeah.
just think leadership today is different than it was 5, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I think that you have to be a little more empathetic, just the way society is. You have to be more empowering,
Mhm.
and some leaders just, they're older,
That's
and
true.
they're still ingrained. And like I had one company I was working with, the guy was like, Joe, I get on there and I say, we got to push, 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 push. And I would say to him, and you got to stop, 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 stop. I mean, I mean, if I don't want to mention any names, but I said, if the CEO said to you when you got on the call, you got to push, push, push. I mean, give me a break. What is that?
Mm-mm. No. Sometimes sitting back and
Mm,
observing, like you said earlier about being an actor, how important observation is. Because in observation, when you're truly present, when you're presently observing, you really are starting to see, okay, here's where some of the weaknesses are. Here's where I need to help people. We need to process more support over here. And I think being the best leader you can be is not about trying to roll the ball forward. It's about figuring out if you're on the right course with the ball, and if the
100.
people who are helping you roll the ball are in the best position to do so.
And there are people watching this podcast right now, and they're going, yeah, but, and I'll tell you what they're saying, yeah, but about, because it all stems from the top. So if the founder or CEO, if he has that ideology,
Mhm.
great, it'll permeate downward. But if he doesn't, then he's putting that pressure on that sales VP. That sales VP is putting that pressure on that sales director. That sales director is putting that pressure on that sales manager. And it's a tough. You're in a tough situation, so
Yeah.
you have to
Well,
make do and be the best you can be within your situation. But I
true.
see that the leaders that are probably the most successful and respected by their teams are servant leaders. Is the
Yeah.
leader that's working hand in hand with their team. I just
Right.
say most respected. We always talk, what's the word in the locker room? Generally, the word in the locker room with those leaders is very good.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a whole lot of sense to me. If you're in it with them, then you get the most respect that you can possibly get. If you believe that your respect, I mean, respect is earned.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's hard to respect somebody who doesn't understand what it means to be in it.
100%.
So thank you so much for your time. I think this was a lovely conversation. We went all over the map, and that is one of my favorite parts about having conversations that matter is the ability to go everywhere and follow where it takes us, where the thread of conversation takes us. Because sometimes, actually, no, I'm gonna say this all the time. Conversations are messy
Yeah,
because humans are messy, and that's okay. But
right.
how we choose to clean it up together is what actually really helps the world to go round.
Yeah, but, and just to piggyback off of that, sometimes I even think if it doesn't get cleaned up, as long as it's
Mm,
out there and people are intelligently looking at it and opened to looking at it, I think sometimes even if it's messy, it's healthy.
mm,
Because what is that really doing? Well, that's saying to the team, "Hey, you can put out how you feel."
yeah,
And what does that say to leadership? Oh my gosh, what an eye-opening event for leadership to go, "Holy guacamole, we should look at this."
yeah,
So
exactly.
so everybody wants to tie everything up in a neat bow. Sometimes it doesn't have to be tied up in a neat bow.
Sometimes it just has to be. That's it.
Be.
It just has to
Sometimes it
be.
has to be. Exactly.
All
So this
right. We're
great.
gonna thank you so much for being here with me and having this awesome conversation. And we're gonna say goodbye for now, everybody. And I hope everyone gets a chance to have a conversation that matters this coming weekend.
Sounds great.